I don't think anybody is actually ever honest about where they're at and why they're offering new services. It's kind of embarrassing, I guess. This is what I'm assuming. People can't they offer a service, but they can't find clients. Or they get one or two and they stay on for like a couple of months and then they're back to fishing again. And I think people are just embarrassed to admit that they can't get clients for the service that they're offering and the niche that they're offering, which is okay. I mean, when I first started, that was the case for me. It took me, I think it was a year and a half before I actually started landing serious clients. And it was just building that and understanding what people were actually looking for versus, what I was trying to push and sell. That's where I think people are. I think they have trouble selling their service. So what they do is one of two things. One is they just take a shot in the dark. They do a shotgun approach and start offering all the services under the sun. And they say, well, if people don't want SEO, maybe I can offer social. I did that when I first started. I offered literally everything under the sun. I would do organic social posting. I've said this before, I would do Reddit ads. I don't even think Reddit ads would do well for landscaping. I think they would absolutely tank. But I was willing to take money and figure out a service for literally anybody. And it wasn't until Cody came along that he was basically like, nope, we're only doing SEO Google ads. That's it. And it was super impactful. The second approach that I think the reason why people expand their services is because they see online what it looks like is working for other people and other agency owners and other gurus in the space. And they see like this 7-figure SEO agency business model. So they try that and they can't get any clients. And then they see someone says, oh, 7-figure SMMA business. So they're like, okay, I'm going to dip my toes in social media. But then they can't get clients in that. At some point, you have to realize that it's not the service that's the problem. It's you. So this episode, as you saw from the title, is all about offering more services and how it won't actually get you more clients. And I have seen this on so many social media platforms now. We won't talk about it right now, but next week or in the coming weeks, we'll talk about how I got hacked. My Facebook got hacked. And so this little teaser, we'll talk about how it happened, why it happened, what happened after that, how I got it back. But all platforms, it doesn't matter, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, everyone does the same thing. They always say, I am struggling to get clients, I'm going to offer more services. Or they don't directly say that, but if they're like a social media agency and they do Facebook ads, they start doing SEO, or they start like web development or whatever. They just offer everything that possibly can because they can't get their social media or Facebook clients. So they're like, well, if I broaden my net, I should be able to catch more fish. Well, if a supplier pays you for salmon and then you start delivering crab, then you're totally missing the entire point of the agency that you tried to start. So, actually, I first noticed this, and I first wanted to talk about this on an episode because as I was locked out of my Facebook account, I started doom scrolling on LinkedIn, and I became
you just switched platforms.
Yeah, I did. I was like,
I can't do it anymore.
It's like I can't doom scroll on Facebook, but I guess I'll go through LinkedIn, which is just awful. That is my nightmare. It is hell.
It was worse than Facebook?
Oh my dude, Facebook or LinkedIn is so bad because it's all it is just cringy business people who are like pseudo woke, and and they're just like, here's a counterculture perspective, like never judge a book before its cover. And then like I noticed the latest LinkedIn trend to get reactions is like people posting TikToks and Instagram reels of something funny or weird, and then they like somehow put some kind of like business or entrepreneurial spin on it.
Right.
And it's like, sometimes working smarter is better than working harder or something like that. And it's just like some stupid, it's just awful. And everything is the same.
I feel like you can put people who are active on LinkedIn in 3 categories. The first is it's their job, as in they're recruiters, right? Mm-hmm. Like it is literally their job to be on LinkedIn because they are professional networkers. And that's one category. The second is people who are promoting in any way, shape, or form, right? Just broadcasting out your content, something like that. And then third is people just who aren't doing well. Because, honestly,
our listeners are going to be like, well, I'm not the other two, so...
name Name a time in your life when you were perfectly happy in your career and your job, and you thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to go hang out on LinkedIn and see what's going on, and coincidentally, what jobs are out there, right? Most, if you're not just a LinkedIn hanger outer, then you're a LinkedIn, I'm searching for a job. And then in which case you're not happy. And I would say, I mean, not that it's reasonable to not be doing mentally well if you're unhappy with your job, but you know what I mean? It's the what's the meme? It's never your successful friends sharing the motivational quotes.
Wait, what was that?
It's never your successful friends who are sharing the motivational quotes. It's the ones who aren't. So
Yeah.
same thing. The people, the people I want to talk to that are professionals have LinkedIn's, but they're not hanging out, right? They're working and then they do LinkedIn when they have something to do on LinkedIn.
Yeah. That's fair. I saw a meme. I was trying to look for it when you were talking, and it was like I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like this guy and a girl meeting up on a date, for a date the first time, and she's like, "Oh, what do you do?" And he goes, "I'm a LinkedIn influencer." And like the next frame is like her chair spinning and her like out the door. And I was like, "Wait." So I've also learned. I don't know if it's just the algorithm on Twitter or X, I guess, but I've also noticed that Twitter, like people on Twitter and LinkedIn, are the same people, and like they post the same stuff. And but except Twitter, the difference between Twitter and LinkedIn is that everybody posting the stuff that's being posted on LinkedIn that's posting on Twitter are 18-year-olds, and they're always like, 2 years ago I was 230 pounds and whatever, and then like they're like, now I'm a multimillionaire agency coach. I'm like, shut up.
Okay, listen, I got something to say about that. I got to point it out because I feel like nobody's saying it. When you see the photos of the left and the right, and there's the me overweight, unhappy, me on the right, successful, everything is great. The one on the left, when people are crying, why are you taking a photo of yourself? Why do you have that? That's such a that's weird. That's really weird. If you start crying and the first thing that you think, maybe the first thing, if it's just a thing that you think is, you know what I should do right now? I should take a picture of myself crying. That's weird.
I
That's a
feel like
weird thing.
every emo kid did that at 16, which is relevant for someone who's 18 who's trying to show a before and after picture, because 2 years ago they were 16 and they were the exact type of person who would do that.
Okay, I'm sorry. You
Yeah,
switched
we
your
keep
doom
getting up.
scrolling from
We keep
Facebook to
Okay. So I was doom
LinkedIn.
scrolling on LinkedIn, and I saw a post from someone I follow in the landscaping industry. He owns a franchise, a landscaping franchise. Well, really, it's a tree company franchise. And Landscape Magazine, which is a not magazine that you got published in, published an article stating or that stated that adding a service to your business can increase your revenue and profitability. And if you pay attention to the last 20 minutes of this podcast episode, the first thought would be like, no, that's bullshit. But, based on what the other bros are saying. But I commented on it, and I basically said, or he shared it. He commented, it says, hey, we are published in this magazine. And then I commented, and I was like, yeah, it could be a really good tactic to do that. But if you don't have like your core services fleshed out and fully systematized, adding more services can actually hinder your business. And so he wrote back, and he agreed with me, and he explained that he only did trees and tree services and tree landscaping for 12 years, and then got the opportunity to do pools, which is what the article was about. It was about installing pools and managing them. And then he started processing that out. So his company does trees and pools, which is kind of weird. Like it's almost like we had a old competitor back in the days where we first started, where he did marketing and basically competed with us. His primary bread and butter was SEO, but he started offering like call center, like a call center. Like he would take calls for his clients too and try to like close those leads for them. And then he also did like IT, whatever that means, and just literally anything. I think he started doing like postcards and like door hangers and stuff as well. And it was just like he didn't have a niche anymore. His like a service niche. It was just an industry niche, which is okay, but you started branching out, and my guess is because I think my phone is ringing. That's annoying. We've got a do not disturb. We're going to do not disturb until I turn back on. There we go. All right, it's gone. Anyways, no, it's okay to only have an industry as a niche, but he started out as SEO and then he started branching out in all these services. And my guess is because he wasn't getting any SEO clients or wasn't having success with that. So he started, expanding his services to hopefully get more people in. But if you do SEO and marketing at your bread and butter, and then you're like, I'm going to do a call center because that's what people need. And they, I can see that. Well, do you have call center experience?
Mhm.
Because now you're just setting yourself up for failure. And
yeah, I think you can dissect this different ways, because when you just said the initial statement, hey, he added new services to his business, and doing so can increase revenue and profitability. Period. I think, yeah, checks out. Nothing wrong with that. That makes logical sense. I have no beef with it. But I mean, yeah, 12 years of expertise in one field before moving on to another. Awesome. Sweet. The agency world, well, I guess two things. One, if you waited 12 years to do the next thing as a digital agency, you're probably going to fall behind at that point, because things move so fast here. But there's something to be said about moving to a new service just because your first one either isn't successful or never even took root anyway from the start. I mean, you can be something that is important to know is just success rate and churn rate. So with this, your primary service that you're offering, is it going well? If it's not going well, in what way is it not going well? Is it not being bought, period? And in which case I would just look at new services. But if it's being bought and it just has really high churn, then I think that sounds like an attractive service, and you just have to work out the kinks. What's going on? Is it priced too high? Are you not delivering something that needs to be included in there? What is the issue that is getting people to leave in the service not successful? And in that case, new services, in my opinion, that's just a distraction at that point to what you should be doing, which is zoning in and figuring out what the problem is with your service that is sort of working, right?
yeah, and I think there when you talk about the kind of the dichotomy of is it not working? Like, are you selling it and it's not working? I think that's a clear indicator of either fix your service or sell a new service. But if you're not selling it, then either there is no market for that service that you're selling, or what you're actually selling is not what other people are actually buying. And what I mean by that is Evergrow, our agency, doesn't sell SEO or Google ads. We sell leads. And that's ultimately what it comes down to. So, like, we can pitch SEO and Google ads all day long, but we won't get as many clients as we would if we just said, we'll get you more leads. How we do that is through SEO and Google ads because that's what we're good at. But the amount of people that come to me, I mean, just through our forum on our website and say, I need help with marketing. Well, they didn't come to us and say they needed help with SEO and Google ads, but that's how we're going to help them get what they actually need. And we've reflected this in another podcast episode that I think it was with Skylar actually, where we said that, people come to us and they say they want to rank number one. And I always say, why? Like, and they say, well, it's because I want to get more leads. So, okay. So you don't want to rank number one. What you want is more leads. And getting down to the root of what people actually want is what's going to define what you're selling. How you do it is the service you offer. And like, even if you are an agency that is called like you're a call center agency, like you take on calls for your clients so they can be in the field, and you're basically like that remote office person, or maybe you're what's that word, someone who's like an assistant, a VA, virtual assistant. Let's say you're a virtual assistant. Like, you're not selling a VA service. What you're actually selling is more time for your client or your organization for your client. How you do that is through VA. And I think that's just an important distinction to make when understanding what you're selling versus what people in your market are actually buying. Uh,
So, uh, Jake, you talk to the people. You know the people. You
well,
know what
45
they.
days ago, I talked to the people, and then I got back to my Facebook account, and now I'm talking to people again.
So you haven't talked to the people.
Not recently,
When
no.
you were talking to the people, um, and they're talking about new services, where is the majority? Is it that they're not selling services, period, or it's that they're selling services and it's going mid, and they want to offer new services because that seems like the logical next step because they're not making as much as they want to be making, or what's the typical case here?
I don't think anybody is actually ever honest about where they're at and why they're offering new services. I think it's like it's kind of embarrassing, I guess, to admit that you can't like you're not finding clients. Here's what I'm this is what I'm assuming. People can't they offer a service but they can't find clients. Or they get one or two and they stay on for like a couple of months and then they're back to fishing again. And I think people are just embarrassed to admit that they can't get clients for the service that they're offering and the niche that they're offering, which is okay. I mean, when I first started, that was the case for me. It took me, almost a year to a year and a half. I can't remember what I keep saying. I think it was a year and a half before I actually started landing serious clients. And it was just building that and understanding what people were actually looking for versus, what I was trying to push and sell. And that's where I think people are. I think they have trouble selling their service. So what they do is one of two things. One is they see what they just take a shot in the dark. They do a shotgun approach and start offering all the services under the sun. And they say, well, if people don't want SEO, maybe I can offer social. But then somebody comes to them and says, hey, we just want somebody to do organic posting on our social media. Well, if they said that to us, we'd say, tough, go find someone else because we're not going to post organically on your social. But if they went to someone who had trouble getting clients and securing an income, they might be open to it because they need money. And I did that when I first started. I offered literally everything under the sun. I would do organic social posting. I've said this before, I would do Reddit ads. I don't even think Reddit ads would do well for landscaping. I think they would absolutely tank. But I was willing to take money and figure out a service for literally anybody. And it wasn't until Cody came along that he was basically like, nope, we're only doing SEO Google ads. That's it. And it was super impactful to do that. And because we weren't selling SEO and Google ads, we were selling leads.
Yeah.
And I just think that people really need to focus on what it is they're truly offering versus trying to do a shotgun approach. But the other thing that the second approach that I think the reason why people expand their services is because they see online what it looks like is working for other people and other agency owners and other gurus in the space. And they see like this, like 7-figure SEO agency business model. So they try that and they can't get any clients. And then they see someone says, 7-figure SMMA business. So they're like, okay, I'm going to dip my toes in social media. But then they can't get clients in that. At some point, you have to realize that it's not the service that's the problem. It's you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Harsh.
Yeah, you dropped that, and my soul was like, yeah, I had nothing. Like, I got nowhere to go with that because I just feel it.
It just it goes back to some of the episodes that we've had earlier about people just being lazy, like or being impatient and wanting to sell services immediately. And I know that a lot of people start in this agency space because they're crunched for cash and they need money, whether it's fast or whatever. But uh, nothing in life is a fast game or a quick get rich quick situation. I mean, there are some people who do get rich quick and they're extremely lucky. And 9 times out of 10 scamming people.
Yeah, when you say the shotgun approach to services, what it makes me think of is the people who believe the what is it, start 10 businesses, get 2 successful ones or whatever,
Oh
because
yeah.
they're like the failure rate is I just made those numbers up. If the failure rate is 90%, then start 10 and one of them will be okay. And I I can't argue too much with it because I know that that does work for people. For some people, it wouldn't work for me. Definitely not. But for some people, that is a way to find what kind of service is going to be successful. Um, but I think when you do that, you divide your attention, and instead of you're diversified. You're not doubling down, so you're not actually truly focused on the thing that is going to work. Now, if what you do is you just offer them initially to find out what the what most fish are looking for or what they're biting on, then you zone in and you say, okay, there's serious interest here. I need to really work on this one particular one and dedicate serious time to it and figuring out how it's going to be a legitimate service offering. Um, but it's I think it's just dangerous, right? To divide your attention like that.
Well, I think like everyone thinks it's like, oh well, if you bet on black, you'll win 50% of the time. Like that's kind of how they're equating that. Start 10 businesses and two will succeed or whatever. And they're like, well, if you bet on black enough, eventually you'll win. But what it should be is like, no, play 10 chess games against a grandmaster and see how many you win. And it's probably going to be a very quick zero. Because there's strategy involved. It's not just luck. You can't just start 10 DBAs and be like, well, two of these are going to win.
Yeah.
No,
I think it's
everything
fun
is
to think
planning.
about that with demographics in general when people pull out statistics and they say them loosely, like, oh, this percent, only this percent does this. And then when you actually think and sit down and segment your demographics appropriately, and then you find that, look, some things actually aren't that out there when you narrow down your group. Um, I think about this with a simple example is shark attacks, because people will say, look, your odds of getting bitten or attacked by a shark are astronomically low.
Yeah, that statistic that always says like you have a higher chance of getting struck by lightning than bitten by a shark.
Mm-hmm. But now let's say you live in Hawaii and you're a surfer and you surf every day. How much, as that demographic, how much statistically do your odds increase of actually being bitten by a shark? Because most people aren't most people aren't swimming every day. Most people aren't even remotely close. Okay, that's not true. It's like 50% of the world is right by the ocean. But half the world isn't. And then I totally made that up. You can fact check me. I have no idea what percentage is actually near the ocean or whatever. But look, the fact is most people just aren't even in places or situations where they could hypothetically be attacked by a shark. But if you are a surfer and you're in the demographic that is frequently interacting with sharks, then you aren't that loose statistic. You're actually exponentially more likely to have a shark encounter. And I think about that with business too, when people will say, oh, most businesses fail, blah, 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 blah. Well, take into account people's demographic. What's their background? What do they know? What's their financial status? What's their work history? Those sorts of things. And things become a lot more likely than other people want to give them credit for.
I can't remember where I found it, but they always have that statistic about pit bulls being the number one dog
Oh, yeah.
that bites people. And you will find that in a lot of sources that said they will, but usually they segment it by the severity of the injury. So like I can't like they usually have like dog bite fatalities and they have like dog bite like ER visits and things like that. And yeah, a pit bull is bred to have like insanely strong jaw muscles. Um, but like I can't remember. I'll try to find this and post this in the show notes if I can. But and this was a couple years ago. But the can you guess what the number one reported dog bite breed is?
What's the highest? What's the most popular dog? I'm going to go with that because that seems statistically correct. Lab,
I
golden
have no
retriever.
idea.
What do
Let's
people
look at
like?
that. Most popular dog breed. But in what country in the world?
Where are the stats coming from? Right.
We'll just say US because
Yeah,
we're
that's what
we're
we
all
know.
US. So the most popular dog in 2022 is looks like a Labrador Retriever.
Makes sense. Is it labs?
Nope, it's not. It's actually a German Shepherd. And the reason why is because the
Uh,
police force uses German Shepherds. So when they bite a some perpetrator or criminal, that's reported as a dog bite. Number 2 was like Chihuahuas, which
that
makes sense. I
seems.
think you say Chihuahua has like one of the highest bite rates in the world, and like literally everybody goes, "Yeah, I believe that." It's just like they don't like harm. It's just they're small and annoying, and they can be punted. But everywhere you look, it's going to be like pit bulls and German shepherds because they have the highest lethal bite. But yeah,
So
I can't remember where I found that, but I always find it annoying when like I can't bring Jack's places because he's half German Shepherd. I'm like, the only reason why his bite is high up there is because German Shepherd dog bites are reported, or for police officers.
yeah. Okay, I want to ask more though, because you talked to that guy in the comments. He was doing pools. How long had he been doing pools when he was posting that? Was it a brand new thing for him still, or like a year or two?
I don't recall exactly, but I believe it was a year or two. He was pretty fresh in the pool game, and because they talked about the impending recession. Impending sounds like it's coming. The hypothetical recession that was thought to have come, and how they started doing services to kind of branch out of that, out of just doing that one and diversifying. So it's kind of like what we plan on doing with some of the coursework for Evergrow. Sorry, listeners, no, we're not quite releasing courses for the Everbros, but for our landscaping clients, we plan to do that, and it's just one of those like broadening our services without changing what we're actually offering, so we can hit a different demographic within the same niche.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah,
It makes us a little bit more recession proof too. I mean, not that we're really hit by much anyway, but the classic. uh, If any of you have spent any time near or around affiliate traffic and business, then like biz ops crush it in recessions. So um, when there's a recession, everybody looks either to do scrappy businesses or how do I do things myself to save money. And um, yeah,
dude,
it would be
Lauren and I,
nice to start offering those sorts of education courses. So
we started refilling our printer ink on our own.
did you see the Canon? What was it? Canon? No, it was
Yeah,
HP.
no,
You saw the HP?
yeah, I did. Well, they have their own refillers. So
No, it was they started shutting down the printers if you didn't buy their ink.
I thought I saw something about that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The-
And I'm talking
Uh,
a little bit because I don't fully remember, but I thought it was that they just didn't work if you weren't buying their specific. It was
or
basically
like,
locked.
yeah, if you were buying like off-brand cartridges.
Hmm.
I believe that because there's chips on them that tell the printer like how to read the ink cartridge. But if you use what we do is you take an ink cartridge out, you peel the little label back. There's a little pinhole, and that's where the ink goes. So we have like this big bottle of ink in a syringe, and we just fill it back up, and then we put the same cartridge back in,
How much was it for the cartridge thing and the
just for
ink?
like the ink bottle.
Yeah.
I think like $8 on
What?
Amazon. Yeah, it's so
Wait,
cheap,
that
and
was the
like
bottle. What about the ink? Ink's expensive though, right? Or is that just
well,
a
that's
lie
no,
that we're told?
that's what I'm talking about. Hold on. I could be Lauren bought it. I could be an idiot. Printer, ink, refill, bottles, Amazon. Sorry. Well, I guess the big bottle is like $18 of black ink. But still, like one cartridge is like $30.
Right.
And this big bottle is like 40 cartridges. So yeah, we just started filling that back up. And there's like YouTube videos on how to do it. And it's kind of messy and the ink goes away pretty quick. But I was also watching a video on YouTube, and it wasn't a sponsored video for a new printer, but he wanted to talk about it because he was super excited. I think it was like Epson. Epson now has a printer. It could be HP. We're gonna look at this. Is the episode of looking up refillable printer.
This is the live Googling
Yeah,
episode.
Epson. Epson has the EcoTank printer, and you like instead of like actual cartridges that you just plug in, they come with like refillable cartridges, and then they also the ink bottles, so you can just keep refilling that, and it's like meant to be environmentally friendly, but um, it saves you a ton of money on printer ink. So
Nice.
I kind of want to get that because what we're doing right now is like it's like back alley refills. And it's so messy when we do it. We do it in our laundry room, and there's just like ink stains all over the laundry sink.
I
But
don't remember if I told you this, but I filled out the census for us for the business.
mhm.
They were asking about our green adoption stuff. It was just very bizarre even trying to answer the questions because it's like our carbon footprint is our lives. There's nothing as a company. There's very I couldn't I had struggled to come up with things about how we as a remote company can even try to do things in a greener way than we're already doing, because a lot of it is actually even personal choice of how people want to work in their homes.
Force
And
solar panels on all of our employees' homes.
yeah, it was bizarre, but also interesting because you think about how other companies are doing that sort of thing too.
We make all of our employees mine crypto on their house 24/7.
we ship them a care package that has a solar panel and all this other stuff. No.
uh, all right, where were we? Oh, I wanted to ask you a question. So adding services to your repertoire is inevitable. Like every business will do it at some point, whether it's a full on pivot or whether they offer like a complementary service to something they're already doing. So we've gone over the last 40 minutes talking about, hey, it's not always the best idea, and like here's why. When would you say it is a good idea to consider adding a new service or just outright adding a new service?
Well, it's like you said, right? I mean, first, it's the assuming that you already have a successful service. It's selling, you're making money from it, it's profitable, but do you have it processed out? Are you still involved? Because if you're still involved, it's probably not time to move on to the next one yet. You need to be able to be out so that you can develop the next one, assuming you're the person doing it. Um, I think that, and then at that point, yeah, go see what you can do for the next one. And we've tested this with failures and successes, and we even basically know what our next successes are most likely to be. uh, and I think one of the best ways you can do that, I'm like offshooting from your question, but I think it's worth mentioning too, listening to your clients then, because we've had clients ask us about particular platforms and if and when we're going to offer them as a service. And um, that's not always necessarily true, because there are some things you have to just come back and say, look, uh, it's not financially smart. We push our big thing for us is mutual profitability. So we tell clients, look, if we can't both make money from this, it's just not a good deal. And we're also in a position still where, like Jake said, organic social is a prime example. Organic social isn't a major money maker
Well,
for us.
yeah. Wait, no, for well, yeah, for us. Well, we don't know. We've never done it, but organic social can be a major moneymaker for an agency, but not for their client.
Right. So I think you do hit a level in business and with the size of clients where you start offering services not because you're positioning yourself as a performance agency anymore. It's now that, look, somebody has to do this job. I either have to pay somebody in house to do it or I'm looking to outsource it. And then when you do that, you no longer have to justify that cost and that expense from a performance aspect. It's, is the client happy with what they're paying for the service, knowing that it's not a direct cost per acquisition sort of thing. I think of that often with social in general. I think that's what social is for many people, is they know they have to have some sort of presence and be somewhat active there's a minimum viable product once you hit a certain size of your company, and you need to do something, and there's a very quick cap where it's no longer fiscally smart to keep pouring money into it, but it is still a minimum viable product that they sort of need too. I mentioned this with emails before, like because we help with emails, there is some level of our service that is administrative, and
But
I
also,
remind clients of that too.
we don't like doing that. Like, it's just sometimes just necessary. Like, they just need a new email. They need to migrate from their hosts, and that includes email. And what I mean, and just to clarify, because people are, we're at a point in the podcast where people are joining halfway through and they haven't heard all the other episodes. When we say email, we mean like setting up a professional email, like at yourdomain.com.
Yep. And like
not
being
like
standby for Google Workspace if they run into problems as they're growing their team, sort of thing.
Yeah, and not like email marketing. Like we still don't offer that yet. It's kind of on the docket to explore in the future. But there's a lot of situations where clients need like a professional email, and we only do Google Workspace. And when we do it, we set it up for them through Google Workspace and not through us. Like we're not an email reseller for Google. But it is something we don't even like doing. And I remember like when I'm in sales calls and they're like, yeah, maybe you can help us set up this. I'm like, yeah, $500. And it's like, it's priced to where it's like I think it's a little more than the hours that we actually spend doing it, but it's also priced because we don't want to do it.
Right.
It's
yeah.
It's kind of like our websites when we first started.
Yeah. But it's kind of nice to have some level of that in your service offerings, because when clients want to throw a hissy fit and then they come back and they're like, I'm done, I want out of here, blah blah blah. And I mean, this is why other agencies do hold things hostage, is because it makes it very difficult to actually leave. We don't do that, at least especially not intentionally too. But something as simple as hosting a site, it's like, okay, you're free to take it with you, but how are you going to do that? You have to figure that out. And if you don't know how, then you're gonna have to pay somebody else to do it. Or just miscellaneous tech support of addressing emails. And I'm like blanking on the other things. I know that there's a ton out there, but like my brain always, just because I've had to spend so much time on it. But I know that there's other requests too. And I just have to remind clients that, look, we have helped you with these other things too. So if you're going to have to go do that yourself, or you're going to now have to rely on somebody else to address those sorts of things. So that peripheral knowledge is beneficial.
Yeah, I always say, I guess for me, the way that I say we should do another service is, one, when taking on clients isn't feasibly possible because of your workload, but you still want to grow your revenue. And that's the sales CEO in me. That's just like, because look, we have a client limitation of 4 clients per month starting on September 1st. So as of recording this, it's October or August 24th. And we say that, hey, we only can take on 4 clients at a time. Well, then we're limited to a growth of 4 clients per month. However, we could also kind of side load the what do you call it, the R&D of a new service, and then start selling that to existing clients, and we can grow in that direction.
Upsells are, in theory, the easiest sell that you have, is because you already have clients who are happy with you, and if they're looking to grow, then, well, it's not like finding entirely new customers. You have people that are ready to give you more money anyway.
Yeah, you just have to be super careful about that though, because you don't want to upsell a new service away from like your core package and then like have it tank, and then suddenly your clients lose faith in the current service they're paying for. And this is also why, before, we've said this too, that if you start branching out from their core products to widen your net to offer services that you aren't necessarily an expert in, and people don't have good experiences with that, not only are they going to be advocate against your brand because they didn't have a good experience with it, but they're also definitely not going to sign up for your actual core services that you want them on.
Yeah. I was
Uh,
watching YouTube the other day, and there's a guy. He said this. I liked it a lot. He said, people have no problem throwing money at a course to learn something. And in doing that, they are losing money. But the second they're talking about working for free for a client, they don't want to do it. But if you treat the opportunity like a learning opportunity as you would a course, then I mean, you're losing money in the way that you are not getting paid for that work, and then it's free labor, but you're actually having a free opportunity to learn. So it's not a bad way to start with a new service either. We've talked about that where, look, don't let it be for free forever, but starting there isn't a bad place, and just being honest and saying, I don't know. I want to learn. I want to find out. I'll work for free for this duration to find out and see if this will become a viable service for us.
I had there was a topic and lawn site that was, let me find it here. New posts. Okay. So it was just today, actually. Someone in lawn site was saying, "Hey, take a look at my website. What do you guys think?" And he was just asking his peers, and of course, Evergreen Marketing, me, is on that forum. And it was just a website that's built on Wix, just one pager, and there was just like a lot of like element errors where you could scroll down, like one element would like hover over the other one, and it was just really weird. And I basically said, like, hey, you should create subpages for all your services. Also, like, here are some areas where like the elements look kind of funky when I'm scrolling. But I was super short. I'd probably put like 50 words there. And I'm like, that's all I can really say for now, without going into detail, without writing a novel on what you should do, based on what's like currently there. And I basically asked him if he wanted to rank, and he goes, yeah, yeah, I would like to rank. How much would it cost to hire a web designer? So, like in a lot of situations, most people, like a lot of agency owners and a lot of freelancers, would be like, "This is how much we cost," and then like they'd really like try to sell themselves or like try to sell, try to not sell somebody else, and they would say like, "Well, if you're paying this much, it's a scam. If you're paying this much, it's too much." Um, but how this relates to what you were just saying is because like if you do something for free, it usually means one of three things. And this is what I illustrated to this guy here. So he said, "How much does it cost?" And I said, "Well, it depends. Anyone between $0 and $2,000 are either new and need to build their portfolio, not good at what they do, or scamming you, or a combination of the three. So it's up to you to decide as a buyer who you're dealing with, and it's up to you as a seller how you want to portray yourself. So if there's information like this, if I'm the one out here spouting this information, which you can't convince me that that's not true. Um, if you are selling your website services for between $0 and $2,000, I already know you're probably new and you're probably not super confident in the services you're offering. If you're not scamming and you want to actually provide good value. Um, I went on to say anyone between 2,000 or 5,000 won't allow you much customization, and the sites will mostly be based on a template structure. That's us. That's actually us. So like I didn't talk that up at all. I was just saying like, hey, it's based on a template structure, just so you know, based on the amount of labor hours that I put in there. And then the third one, I said anything above 5,000 is typically a custom website build, with the average being around 7,000 to 10,000. And I'm
Mhm.
speaking more to like the local service business niche. If you're doing like a custom e-commerce site, those can be like 50 grand.
Yeah, better
Um,
go to the bank.
yeah. So, and we have had sites that like have hit 7,500, 8,000, but for the most part, most of our sites are between 2 and 5,000 because they are based off of a template. When we first started, we were doing $0 to $2,000. We were actually doing $1,000, and in certain situations, we are doing $750 because we were new and still learning. And it's important to portray that. I don't know where I was going with that, but you said that, and I was like, hey, that sounds familiar. I said something like that this morning on a forum.
It's okay. My brain's like pretty donezo. I'm not sure I have much left anyway.
Well, yeah, we're about done. The only thing I had was like two similarities between agency owners and lawn care company owners who add additional services for the sake of attracting new clients. So this is really the impetus of me wanting to do this episode, and it's lawn care companies who do like mowing and weed whacking and things like that. Sometimes in the winter they'll offer snow removal, which makes sense because there's nothing to do in the winter except remove snow. Or in the summer, while they're mowing lawns, they'll also offer power washing because they can get a power washer for relatively cheap and power wash someone's driveway. But power washing has very little to do with lawn care. And that's like a lawn care person doing roofing. It's just like it's not this it's I mean it's outdoors, it has to do with the house, but it's not necessarily the same thing. And there are a ton of lawn care companies, new lawn care companies who do power washing. You won't find an established lawn care company, or at least very many of them, who do power washing as a service. Um, so on like the example that I gave for like SEO agency is you do SEO agencies, but then now um, you do like hiring ads on Indeed. So this is a really good equation. So it doesn't sound like it's the same thing, but one of the main reasons why we lose clients is because they don't have the labor to execute the leads that we're driving. So because they can't find the work. So one solution to that would be, well, they need to hire more people, but they struggle to hire people because they can't find applicants. So if we offered a service that helped them find applicants, then that could complement our service for providing leads. Well, those are two really different services, and we have honestly no idea how to run ads for hiring that are going to be successful for our clients without
Yeah,
testing that to some degree.
for this niche. But I do think I think recruitment in general as a partner thing to your niche, if you learn it, is brilliant though. Because like you
Yeah.
said, uh it doesn't matter what your niche is. Everybody needs to be hiring for something. And if you can figure out a good and reliable and consistent way to help them solve that problem too, man, you're getting deep in that relationship. It's going to be great. That's how you're going to be so good they can't ignore or get rid of you.
I think any service really, as long as you nail it down, could be good. Like a call center, if you're providing so many leads that they can't keep up with the calls and they have to hire an internal office person, you can say, "Hey, we have a call center division," but you have to be good at that. You can't just offer that service. Then you have to want to do that forever. like, like that has to be part of your actual business model moving forward. And if that wasn't something that you want to do from the start, then maybe you shouldn't do it. Um, the other thing with that was like, we had an example which was like good companies are good at doing their one thing, or they're one and two things and not doing like everything. So one example you gave was like Yamaha does motorcycles and pianos. They're totally unrelated.
Hmm.
So like Evergrow, like we'll do SEO and Google Ads and courses. So, like, they're unrelated, but kind of. And, I mean, there's, like, Mitsubishi does cars and forklifts. Well, you said they did everything in
Oh
Japan.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
one of the most surprising things that I don't know. Surprising. It was a big thing that I learned. It was Mitsubishi like runs Japan, because here in the States you hear Mitsubishi and you think, okay, car manufacturer, kind of smaller, right? Fewer dealerships, not as big of an impact as like Honda or Toyota. You go to Japan and you're like, whoa, they got banks. This is weird. Like they got everything. Also, I think it's Mitsubishi Pencil. I think it's
Say
Mitsubishi.
Mitsubishi
Um,
for me.
Mitsubishi.
Oh, okay. It sounded like you said Mitsubishi.
No.
Well, I know a handful of people who can't say Mitsubishi.
How do they say it?
They just can't. I don't know. It's like Asian people saying R or L. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's hard to pronounce.
That sounds okay for the listener. That sounds like really racist and discriminatory of me.
No,
But
it's a
Cody was
legitimate phonetic
you were
thing.
just telling me how you were saying to your Japanese friend, you're like, "Look, you can't go to the US and say hello." And, like,
Right, right, right.
he was struggling with that, like, he couldn't say hello. And it was just blowing my mind how, like, because L isn't in Japanese language,
Right.
and it was blowing my mind that like, people can't wrap their head around the letter L. And I'm like, "I don't have a problem using the French R, or, like or anything," and I never did. And so just blowing my mind how adults don't know how to use.
I
their
can't
mouth.
do it in Spanish though. If you said I got to do the L roll thing, R roll,
Ere?
yeah, I can't do that. It's not gonna happen. I've tried. When you're a kid and
I
you're
think
like
there's
in
a
the
difference.
shower and you're like, all right,
I think there's a
gonna
difference between.
practice and get it.
Okay, but you're a child. I think there's a difference between like knowing how to say ere and L. like I just don't understand it, and I don't think I ever will.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't come up. I'm sure like someone who speaks Spanish like that's not how you say our R's.
Yeah. In Japan they have yeah, it's when it's written in Romaji, which is Englishified Japanese, it'll be written with a R. That's probably the closest that it is to it, but I still struggle to actually make the sound that it is because it's like 75% R, 25% L.
Oh,
So yeah,
interesting.
fun fact for
L is so easy to say. Like L. I can do it. I can do it by sticking my entire tongue out.
Yeah, this is good information for people who have no interest in Japan. Probably. Maybe I've inspired some people though. I don't know. Probably not. It's pretty terrible. I do tell people that in real life though. When they're like, Japan, Japanese, that sounds cool. I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be awful if you actually want to learn this. So probably just stick to Spanish or
I will
French.
say I posted on this is unrelated, but I posted on Twitter. I said, hey, here's a free engagement hack on X or Twitter. Type, I got my Facebook hacked, and I put it in quotes. Then I said, now watch the comments, likes, and retweets pile up. And within 22 seconds, I had like 19 comments and 8 retweets and 5 likes. And I replied to every single one of them with the same canned response. So all of them, it's like, hey, mine was successfully recovered by, at this person, or no worry, or worry no more. Go message at this person. And there's
like a bot listener.
Just it was just all that. So then I replied to every single one of them with the same canned response and said, wow, no way, cool. Thanks for the engagement. And then I liked their comment. And I posted those screenshots on Facebook. And Andrew commented and said, this is why your podcast is my favorite. So just wanted to give him a shout out there.
Shout out,
Andrew. But
cool.
All right. Well, that's all we got. So all we got. We went on for an hour.
Yep.
So
probably half an hour longer than it needed to be. Anyway.
All right. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
See you.